search for love unspoiled by your darkness within. You fought for your dreams. Now there's no way to win. In the head of his corpse lies the seat of his soul. So we must carry his vessel to bring him back home.
What is up, one and all? Welcome to a new video, a new Thoughts On. I am currently in the midst of compiling my Game of the Year list for 2017. This may be the first ever year I get that list out before the start of the next year. We shall see. I am trying my darndest, and in doing so, I've been going through my backlog of games that have come out in 2017, including games that I overlooked that came out earlier in the year. One of those games happens to be Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I remember hearing mixed things about this game on release, but here we are in the award season for gaming, and Hellblade has cropped up a number of times, specifically at the Game Awards and several other lists on YouTube, and a lot of other press sites and gaming journalists have talked a lot about this game over the last few weeks, and it had me genuinely confused why, considering the game had such a mixed reception, or apparently it did, when it was released back in August. Well, I did some digging, and a big reason for that has to do simply with the press release for this game. Ninja Theory, the developers, instead of giving reviewers an early copy of the game to digest and fully play through and accurately work on a review for, they gave it to everybody straight away on day one. Which meant a lot of reviewers and review sites rushed out their reviews, hence the nature of game reviews, to give an accurate portrayal of the game, to write a review based off a game that some reviewers hadn't even finished, some reviews rushed through, some reviewers who even encountered game-breaking bugs that could have been patched out had Ninja Theory given out early copies, and those reviewers would have communicated with Ninja Theory and they could have ironed out those bugs. It's a big controversy. It's an unfortunate controversy because I think it slightly overshadowed what is one of the most intriguing and important video games that I have ever played in my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, these are my thoughts on Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Now, I won't dive too deep into specifics with this game because to name specifics would be to spoil aspects of this experience that I think is only best for you to experience firsthand, for you to take in by yourself and not for other people to tell for you, because Hellblade is a very strange game based off of a very intriguing concept: mental illness. This is a taboo subject that though movies and shows have been exploring more and more, it's something that a lot of entertainment and media generally gets wrong, or something that media over dramatizes. You know, this has been a complaint with things such as Splits, which is an excellent movie from M. Night Shyamalan. God, I love Shyamalan. But the movie does take a certain mental illness, I believe dissociative identity disorder, and sort of portrays it in a negative light. The same thing with a movie like Fight Club. I love Fight Club. It's one of my favorite all-time films, though, again, dissociative identity disorder makes out the person who has it to be the bad guy. And that's not always the case. And what Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is trying to do is not only to paint an accurate portrayal of what of people going through this particular mental illness, psychosis, which is a detachment from reality, but it's trying to say a lot about what it does to the person who has it, right? And it's not just trying to inform, but it's also trying to empathize with the people who have it. Because again, a lot of times in media, mental illness is seen as something of a villainous trait. It's infuriating that something that afflicts thousands of people, right? Mental illness in general, something that afflicts hundreds of thousands of people, is being treated in such an inaccurate way. And Hellblade is not only an accurate portrayal of that, but it's the empathetic opening of the door to understanding what really is behind this mental illness and what it can really do to a person and how it torments them. That's at the crux of Hellblade, and it's paired with the story of this woman who has journeyed to Helheim. This is all based off of Norse mythology to rescue her dead husband. That's all I'm going to say about the story. That's conveyed to you pretty quickly on, but my God, in terms of, I've always said this when it comes to narrative in a video game, that any game that can tell its narrative not just through cutscenes and dialogue and story, but also through the gameplay, understands a narrative better than any other game. And Hellblade has done that more than most games I've played. More so than any game that has come out this year, I think. Does it pair gameplay storytelling with, you know, cutscene and cinematic storytelling? This is a vivid, visceral, eviscerating experience that is just so raw and terrifying and powerful and beautiful, and this game only functions really in extremes of what it's going for in its spectrum. It is one of the most moving, disturbing, yet emotional, intense experiences I've had in gaming all year. It's not a game that is overly ambitious. It's not a game that's shooting high and succeeding with flying colors, right? It's not a game, say, like The Witcher 3, which has this very big sprawling vision and succeeds at giving the player this big sprawling vision. Hellblade is a focused game. Heck, it's not even a long game either. This game is half the price of a you know, a normal AAA release title, and is also a game that you can beat in under 10 hours at varying difficulties. But regardless of that, it is a focused experience, and what they're going for, like I said, isn't overly ambitious, but it is executed damn perfectly. Seriously, thinking about this game and thinking about its flaws, I can really only detect nitpicks. Things that personally didn't sit well with me, and I think as a gamer, for what gamers are used to getting out of video games nowadays, these might also irk players as well, and a lot of that has to do with the puzzle design of this game. Because this game is portraying a mental illness, they wanted that to come across in the gameplay, and part of that is the puzzles. Because people with psychosis tend to pick up on patterns that we would, you know, anybody else would normally perceive as a normal object, the game has this very same puzzle solving mechanic in the game. Much of the game is puzzles. In fact, I'd say about 60 to 70% of this game is puzzle solving. And not that these puzzle sequences drag on at all. It's just so many of them will feel confusing. So many of them you'll feel like the game doesn't really guide you in the path to solving it, and I can understand difficulty when it comes to combat encounters in games like Dark Souls, but when it comes to difficulty in puzzle solving, it's something that has never completely set 100% well with me. So for me, I really consider that a nitpick. It's a subjective thing that for me, all these puzzles that the game throws at you didn't feel that inspired, didn't leave me that satisfied when I solved them. But I don't believe every player is going to feel that way. I don't think these puzzles are going to have the same impact on other people that they had on me. And that's not even to say that this was even that big of a deal. I really didn't mind the puzzles that much. It's just there were so many of them, and it got to be a little frustrating how often my density took over and I couldn't figure out how to solve a puzzle. Though the puzzle design here is pretty creative. Visually, all the puzzles are set up pretty well, and to that regard as well with the visuals, this game is gorgeous. The color palette is fantastic. The art style and the environments and a lot of the puzzles is great. The use of darkness is terrifying and wonderful. There's a sequence later on in the game where it places a big emphasis on light and dark, and it is one of the scariest sequences I've experienced in a video game this year. I've played a lot of horror games this year as well. The sound design for Hellblade as well. Can't believe it took me 10 minutes of this review to get to this, but the sound design is praiseworthy. Seriously, this is probably the best sound design in a game of 2017 that I can say, mainly because of one very effective gimmick. And that is a 3D surround sound mechanic where you hear voices in your ear. Because, of course, again, they're simulating psychosis. They want to simulate the delusions that you experience, and a lot of that comes through voices in the main character Senua's head. And throughout the entire game, Senua is hearing voices in her head. Are you familiar with those ASMR mics? I think they're called binaural mics, where, you know, they have kind of like inputs on all sides, so that way a person can go from one side to the other. I don't know if you could hear that on this mic at all just now, but the point is that they use this audio recording device to provide this surround sound audio thing. And again, that's going to annoy some people, but it's part of the experience, and it's used incredibly well, especially when you're in combat, because if an enemy's about to attack from behind, you'll hear a voice in your ear go, "Look out behind you!" And what do you know? There's an enemy about to attack from behind, and you got to get out of the way. The excellence of the sound design doesn't end with that simple idea, though. Everything else that is, as would be in any other video game in terms of sound, is incredibly well recorded. There's some nightmare fuel here with the sound design. There's an early sequence in the game where you're looking for some sort of demonic beast thing called Valravan, and he makes this growling noise whenever you're near him, and whew, it's fantastic. That sound design also comes through again in the music. There are some truly great tracks in this, especially once you get closer to the end of the game. There are some fantastic songs. It does have a lot of Nordic influences. You will be reminded of The Witcher 3 quite a bit. I know there's other games that do have influences on this, but that's what it reminded me of when I was listening to it. And this is an audio-visual experience that is on the level of something that you would expect from a AAA developer. But knowing that this is from an indie developer, Ninja Theory, hats off. They did an incredible job delivering that. The only other thing I can really say about this game is that there is a combat system that it's kind of an amalgamation of every type of combat system that we've seen since Dark Souls. You know, a Souls-like combat system that is about, you know, enemy targeting and spatial separation from enemies, light attacks, strong attacks, blocking, all these various mechanics that we've seen in games since Dark Souls. So, you know, The Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed Origins, any of those types of games. You get it again here, and it's excellent. It's very surface level. There's not a whole lot of depth to this combat system, but frankly, there really couldn't have been in a game like this. There's nothing to really specialize in, or nothing to dump skills in. There's nothing that you really need to master. It's just something that you need to be good at to progress in this game. And more importantly, it is a satisfying combat system. It's something that, for when the game does throw these simple combat encounters at you with this system, it's fun. It's something I always look forward to. And that really should be a lesson, I think, to other developers developing combat systems. You don't need a combat system with a lot of built-in depth for it to be satisfying. All you need is a concept that you understand, and you need to execute it well. And that kind of sums up everything I want to say about Hellblade. This video is more of a, please go out and play it. I'm telling you as much as I can without saying too much about the game video than it is actually talking about Hellblade. But I think I will do another video on Hellblade in the future to kind of talk about the game overall, with spoilers and all, how I felt about everything in it. Because again, this is one of the most important games I've played in recent history, because it does such an accurate portrayal of what this mental illness psychosis, and it says a lot. It says so damn much about the importance of understanding this mental illness, and how sometimes it's not the illness itself that causes problems, but the negative stigma in society surrounding that illness. That was something that, when I walked away from the game, had me really had me really thinking about how in society we treat people with mental illness, and how maybe sometimes we're the villains, and how sometimes we're the people causing it to be worse. That we should be extending a hand of compassion, you know, not turning away people who have this, and we should be treating people with the proper attention that they deserve for such a thing. So, in short, those are my thoughts on Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. incredible game. You will see this game in my Game of the Year list. It has a pretty nice spot. I'll just say that for now. And in general, do stay tuned for my Game of the Year list. Like I said, I plan to get it out before the end of the year. Don't know how soon exactly, but I mean, there's like 3 to 4 days left of the year, so yeah, you'll see it pretty damn soon. So I want to thank y'all for watching. If you played Hellblade, what did you think of it? Tell me in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please rate, comment, subscribe. Check out my videos upcoming and prior to. Stay tuned. Game of the Year listing coming, and a bunch of other thoughts-ons as well that will probably come in the new year. Guys, the new year, I have so much exciting stuff planned. You have no idea. And to that end as well, I want to comment, the best Star Wars games ever series will continue in the new year. I don't know if I'll be able to pump out any more episodes before the end of 2017, though that series will continue. There's only 5 more games I got to talk about anyway, so hope you're all looking forward to that. Thank you all for watching one last time, and I'll be seeing you all later. Peace out, folks.